Hey, we're going to get started while our last folks here are getting their food. So, hello everybody, and welcome all to the 47th Annual Williamson Lecture. Thank you. We have a series of events planned, and if you don't have it, please get a program which has all the wonderful events planned for today. Some of these events already took place this morning and last night, and both myself and the lectureship committee are delighted to see everyone here. We felt that the doodles on our tables last year were fantastic, so we included paper again and encourage you to add your own art to this year's lectureship. I know many of you have, and those tables that are currently blank, I'm watching you. From its inception, the Williamson Lectureship has been about bringing various campus communities together with authors and academics to celebrate speculative fiction, and the many groups that have come together to make this event happen demonstrates how we're working towards this goal. We had a successful student-driven event last night at the Carnival Cantina. We added an academic panel to the lectureship that I'm both excited by and looking forward to developing further in future years. With all the groups coming together for this lectureship, I want to offer some thanks before we go any further. First, I want to thank our guest authors for joining us despite the long and dusty drive it requires. I also want to thank the hefty work from the lectureship committee, from developing panel topics to posting posters, to covering the dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of small tasks that continuously come up and that suddenly also arise. I want to thank the ENB Culinary Arts Program for this lovely lunch. And I want to thank the various student organizations that worked with Dr. Schmidt to put on the Cantina Carnival last night, including the Desperate Optimist ENB English Club, the Board Geeks Board Game Club, the History Guild, the Forensic Science Society, the Clay Hounds, the Improv Club, and Kappa Sigma. I want to thank Professor Gollum and Professor Curtis, who worked with the graphic design and watercolor classes respectively to produce the art based on lectureship art authors that is now on display in Chihuahua. And you should definitely go see the art. The graphic design pieces are in the foyer. The watercolors are near the hallway, near the panels. Check them out, they're amazing. I want to thank Comm Services and Duplicating Services. They put up quite a lot for me in getting our promotional materials and everything else together. And I also want to thank the bookstore for offering books options for all of you avid readers here. Yes. They are setting up this year in 3 locations for us. They were this morning at the Guest of Honor reading so you can buy books. They're here so you can buy books. And at the afternoon panels, if you see an author and you like their work, guess what? They'll be there. So, I also want to thank Sodexo for adjusting on the fly to provide our China service for the luncheon. And last but not least, I want to thank all of you that are here with us again. Thank you. The Williamson Lectureship is truly a unique and magical event, and one of the things I'm most happy to be part of here at ENMU. It might surprise you to hear, but I was a nerdy, bookish child. And sci-fi and fantasy have been a significant part of my life for as long as I can remember. For life's joyful still moments are its casual cruelties. Asimov, Tolkien, Brooks, Lieber, McCaffrey, Jordan, and others were there for me again and again and again. And now I get to see my daughter discover these things, and it's amazing. It's the singular joy of sharing this with someone else. And in a similar way, being here with all of you at a lectureship dedicated to this field is also a singular joy. You can see what's written on paper about the lectureship. It began when Jack retired in '77 and carried on his efforts as the Dean of Science Fiction to encourage engagement between writers in sci-fi and academics. But this doesn't give the full picture. What makes this event truly special is the way it brings together authors, scholars, students, and community members into the same shared conversation in a way that isn't a fan convention, isn't an academic conference, but somehow takes the best parts of each. I'm continuously amazed that I get to be part of this event each year. And I want to thank all of you again for just being here with us, so thank you. I realize it's strange, I invited you all to applaud for yourselves. All right, but now I want to turn things over to our Mistress of Ceremonies, Connie Willis.
Am I gonna, if this is here, will I accidentally touch
You're fine.
anything? You don't know me. Well, this is why I take very high tech things that I brought. Okay. Hi, everybody. It's great to be back. I've been here many, many times. So many I don't like to count. And it's always just a joy to see everybody and to see all the new faces of people I haven't met yet. And to welcome you to the 47th Japanese Lectureship. For those of you who don't know what the lectureship is, it was started by Eastern New Mexico University in honor of Jack Williamson in 1977. And for those of you who don't know who Jack Williamson is, allow me to introduce you. Jack was one of the forefathers of our science fiction field. I can't overly stress how important he was to the history of our field. He was there in the pulp days, writing classic stories like The Metal Man and Non-Stop to Mars. He wrote through the golden age of science fiction with his CT novels, the Legion of Space novels, and his Legion of Time novels, and then transformed himself again as science fiction began to change to write Darker Than You Think, which was one of the very first science fiction novels which dealt with psychological issues, and his famous With Folded Hands, one of the first stories to explore the consequences, the unintended consequences of AI and robots in our society. And it is just as topical today as it was then, if not more so. After he had been named a science fiction grandmaster, he wrote a Hugo Award-winning autobiography called Wonder's Child, which I highly recommend. One of the best autobiographies ever written. He wrote science fiction from 1928 to 2005, setting a record by writing through 2 centuries and 2 millennia. And I think he's the only person who's ever done that or is likely to do that. He inspired Isaac Asimov and Carl Sagan, and Ray Bradbury wrote him a fan letter, which you can see over at the Williamson Collections. He helped to create the very language of science fiction, inventing ideas and the words for them, words like terraforming and psionics and genetic engineering and android. Those are all his words. They're all in the OED. You can go look him up. And he brought to Portales a place which, I am sorry to have to tell you this, but it's in the middle of nowhere. An astonishing array of writers and agents and publishers, including, but this is not the whole list, this is a shortened list. Greg Bear, George R. Martin, Michael Swan, Gardner Dozois, Stephen Gould, Carrie Vaughn, Stephen R. Donaldson, Jerry Pournelle, Christine Catherine Rush, Ed Bryant, William Gibson, Greg Benford, Roger Zelazny, Nancy Krust, Terry Bisson, and 7 grandmasters. Frederick Pohl, Robert Silverberg, Joe Haldeman, Nalo Hopkinson, Arlen Ellison, James Gunn, and yours truly. And that's not even counting the best grandmaster of them all, Jack Williamson. This year's lectureship is no different. I want to introduce you now to the writer guests of honor who are here. Not Martha Wells, who I will introduce later. But I usually introduce everybody, by giving a brief, what they've written, et cetera, et cetera. And then this year I thought it would be way more fun to introduce them by telling a secret that they had hoped would remain secret until but then Dorinda threatened to kill me. Okay, so instead, we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, so Walter John Williams, and I want you to stand up. And I mean stand up. Stand up. I know many secrets about Walter, but I won't. If you want to ask me later, ask me later. The Nebula Award-winning author of This Is Not a Game, Deep State, City on Fire, the Dread Empire's Fall series, Praxis novels, including most recently Imperium Restored, and The Best of Walter John Williams, which is that out now? Is out there? Available on the table, yeah. Our half price, okay. And Walter John is also the founder of the Writers' Workshop, Taos Toolbox, and runs that workshop. There we go. Ian Tregellis. author who works at Los Alamos, which none of you had ever heard of, except maybe Oppenheimer, or was it Harvard? I can't remember which one at Los Alamos. And he has done research on radio galaxies, but in his spare time, he is the author of the Ultimate History Trilogy, the Milky Triptych, and a contributor to the Wild Card Anthology. He is the author of Mechanical, the Rising, and the Liberation. Okay, Kelly Ross. Kelly came out all the way down here from Canada. What are you doing down here, by the way? I mean, did you come for some of the reason?
I'm eating green chili.
She came to visit Jeff and she's eating green chili. Perfect. Okay, I thought maybe you could put a heat clip or something. No? No, okay. Anyway, Canadian science fiction, fantasy, and horror writer, incredibly talented, who wrote the Nebula Award-winning Human Stain. She's also the author of Gods, Monsters, and the Lucky Peach, and High Times in Parliament, among others. Okay, Arcady Martin. Time I was like, she's really here? So, yay, she's really here. Yay. Hugo Award-winning science fiction writer and the author of A Memory Called Empire and A Desolation Called Peace, and her latest novels, Rose/House and Prescribed Birth. Is that right? Oh, okay. And the upcoming Prescribed Birth. Okay. All right. Melinda Snodgrass. Melinda is a New Mexico screenwriter who was the story editor for Star Trek: The Next Generation. She is the editor of Wild Cards and the author of the Edge of Darkness series and the White Fang Law series, among others. Are you impressed yet? I mean, my God, this is an amazing list of authors. Most science fiction conventions I go to do not have this impressive a list, and I'm not going to have it. Okay. John Stiff. John is new this year, and I know why he's here. He's here because I bullied him into it. I kept telling him what a great convention it was. He's the author of The Tiny Time Machine, Redshift Rendezvous, my favorite, Reunion on Never End, and Manhattan Transfer, which is currently in the process of being made into a TV pilot starring Walter Koenig, Chekhov on Star Trek, and Casper Van Dien from Starship Troopers. He and his wife Karen came down from Colorado Springs to be here. Karen, stand up. You should stand up. Jeffy Kennedy. Jeffy is the author of fantasy romance and paranormal romances, including Promised Queen, The Fiery Crown, The Orchid Throne, and The Long Night of the Radiant Star. She's the winner of the Romance Times BET Romance Award, the author of The Pages of the Mind, and our only genuinely certifiable crazy person. Because she was the president of Subla. Oh, you still are? What is the matter with you? One more year. Okay. One more year, and then she might return to being a normal human being. But I don't know. Jack was the president of Subla too. So. And he survived, so. But it's an awful job. It's the worst job in science. Okay. Lauren Defoe. Lauren? Lauren is the author of Been Planted and the upcoming A Hunger with No Name. Is that right, or is it out? September. Okay. And has short stories in Fighting for the Future and Solar Punk. Okay, Dorinda Jones, who threatened me. Dorinda is at Rarest of Things, a local writer who actually is from Portales, just like Jack. And the author of the Charlie Davidson series and the Sunshine Vikram series, as well as her YA series, Darklight Trilogy. So that's so great. And keep in mind, of course, that Shakespeare, is a local author in Stratford, Connecticut. Every author is a local author where they live, and they get no respect where they live. Other places, they get lots of respect, but you can imagine in Stratford, they were constantly saying to Will, when are you going to get a job? Okay, all right. Sarita Ulavari. A short fiction author and the editor-in-chief for World Weaver Press, which publishes fantasy, science fiction, and paranormal books, such as Glass and Gardens, Solar Pink Summers, and Solar Punk Winters, and the highly acclaimed essay, Horror and Hope in Climate Fiction. I'm sorry, yeah, is that right? Horror and Hope in Climate Fiction. Okay, I know, I always get something. Okay, Vivian Shaw. Vivian Shaw writes contemporary fantasy, including Strange Practice, Dreadful Company, and Grave Importance, the sci-fi novella The Helios Syndrome, and the upcoming Bitter Waters and Strange New World. Are those really upcoming or are they out? Okay, great. All right. Good. Okay. And then I hope I haven't forgotten any of the writers. Is there anybody out there that I forgot? Okay. So then we also have the Bubonic Truth represented this year by Craig Christopher and Jessica Coyle. Every year in August, and it's one of the best science fiction conventions in the country. This year it will be in Albuquerque on August 23rd through the 25th, and its writer guest of honor will be Merle Lafferty and T.J. Klune. Is that right? Yes. And you should all go. It's really a great convention. I will be there if my hip is better. So, okay. And I also have to introduce some of the people here in Portales. The lectureship has not only been a science fiction conference, it's also sort of a family affair for so many years. And it wouldn't work without so many people who I know I won't be able to name all of them. But we have David Sweeten, who's the chairman of the and an associate professor of English and graduate coordinator at UNMU with a specialty in Middle English literature and Arthurian tradition, which of course makes him fit right in with the science fiction and fantasy crowd. Laura Wright, UNMU's library director. She's here today. Okay, she's over at the library, obviously. Regina Boulay-Sweeten, who is the head of special there's a tour at 1:30, is that right?
Unless we want to go on for a little bit with Christmas, we're back to whenever everybody's ready to go.
Okay, great. Great, but I really recommend seeing the special collections. It's got amazing stuff there. All of Jack's manuscripts, great collection of pulp science fiction. Jack's comic strip that he did, color pages of his comic strip that he did, which I can't remember the name of right now.
Beyond Mars.
Beyond Mars, which is great, and books by many other science fiction writers. His Hugo's, there's great mural, there's all kinds of stuff. It's a great place, so I highly recommend it. Okay, and also a close friend of mine, Jean Bundy. The lectureship who not only ran the lectureship, but was in charge of the special collections for many years, and a good friend. And Patrice Caldwell. Patrice is the chairman emeritus of the lectureship, who not only ran it at the university and Portales for many, many years. Flitting from place to place like a hummingbird, we never saw her actually alight until she retired. And she also had the privilege of teaching with Jack and being a good friend of Jack's, and is a powerful source of information if you want to know more about Jack. Betty Williamson. Betty is Jack's niece, and she is the glue that holds Roosevelt County together. That is not what I call her, that's what somebody else called her. She writes for the paper. She does everything. She's running the book sale at the public library this week. She once had 5 flat tires running errands for the lectureship during the course of the lectureship. And she's everywhere doing everything all the time. Betty and Patrice and I fell in love at first sight the first time I ever came there. And ever since then, I've called them my sisters who were separated at birth. And one time at one of the things I said that, a woman came up to me afterward and said, even the difference in ages is pretty apparent that we're not the same age and we're not really sisters. But she came up to me afterwards and said, I want to know that whole story. How did you happen to get separated? How did you find each other again? So I just want to make that clear. Figurative. It's a figurative sister. Okay, but there couldn't be any better sisters. So, and then my daughter, Cordelia Willis. She's a criminalist at the Santa Clara Crime Lab in San Jose, and an expert in blood spatter, shoe print, cell phone crime scene analysis, and digging up bodies, which she did recently. When she's not catching criminals, she is also an actress in community theater and was most recently in the Elvis Jukebox musical All Shook Up. She will shortly be appearing as Mr. Mushnik in Little Shop of Horrors, and she was helping us drive down here. So, and then finally, my husband, Courtney. A physics professor who retired and probably became a collector of antique sewing machines, a quilter, and a mechanic of all these machines. And he now lectures regularly on how to repair your machines and maintain them. I just want to say this and make it perfectly clear to all of you. And if you don't listen to me, I will send Dorinda to be my enforcer. You are not, repeat, not to give this man any more sewing machines.
Can we sell them to them?
You cannot sell them to him. I don't know. Keep them for yourselves. Now, he has a great collection. It has over 160 machines. And we are thinking of renting a storage unit and then moving into the storage unit. Taking over. So, okay, all right, enough for the introductions unless I forgot something. Okay, at this point, I ordinarily catch everybody up on what's been happening in the world, which most years includes stories about UFO sightings and windstorms and cruise ships and train wrecks and cows. I always tell stories about cows. Mutilated cows, stampeding cows, exploding cows. If you want to know more about those cows, I will have to talk to you later. This year, however, there was only one thing happening, and that was Monday's eclipse, which they called the Great American Eclipse, which is also what they called the one in 1978. So it's like, okay, I think every time there's an eclipse, it's the Great American Eclipse, unless of course it's not American. I didn't go see the eclipse this year because I didn't want to be caught in a traffic jam somewhere outside of abandoned Hope, Arkansas, when I was supposed to be here doing this. So, but I have seen two total eclipses, if you don't count the one in Little Shop of Horrors. And one was in Lewistown, Montana in 1979, great. And one was in Nebraska in 2007, which is also great for different reasons. They were both great. We got to see the daily speeds and the wedding ring and the corona and the temperature drop and the wind stops and it gets dark and the streetlights come on. And then in the winter one in Montana, we were on a high hill surrounded by snowy fields. And we saw something that is not always present because you have to have wide open spaces in order to see it. But when an eclipse goes total, it's already total to the west of you. And then, so a couple of minutes before it goes total where you are, it's already total over there. And then the shadow of that totality sweeps toward you. And in Montana, it swept toward us across these wide open, white, snowy fields. It looked like the wings of God. I kid you not. It was so scary. And I was like, now I understand why people got so worked up in the Middle Ages about these eclipses. It's really great. And it's over just in seconds, and you're not even sure that's what you saw. It's just a wonderful experience. Anyway, the stars come out. I have a question. Did anybody see the comet that was supposed to be visible? They talked a lot about the comet in the days leading up to it, but they weren't sure if it was visible. And I'm guessing from the fact that nobody's said anything about it, that it probably wasn't visible. That is a problem. So, anyway, never experienced one until you saw it. We had a bunch of people cheering and applauding, and we were in the city park, and it was midsummer, so the leaves and the trees acted as pinhole cameras, and we flashed a whole bunch of little tiny crescents on the ground. And that was good. But the thing I most remember was a rooster who started crowing the minute the eclipse started, and I mean the minute the moon began to cast a ball in front of the sun. This rooster started crowing, and he crowed all the way through totality and all the way to the other side, getting progressively scared and more kind of confused, and he felt like he was saying, I have no idea what's going on, but I have one job, and I'm going to do it no matter what. And we were still growing as we got in our cars and left. It was so sad. It was great. Animals always behave strangely during eclipses. You probably saw a lot about that on TV. Dogs bark, birds roost, and cows start for home. And that kind of thing. I do have a cow story about eclipse. Okay. A great story. The governor of a state which shall remain nameless, Arkansas, a few days before the eclipse, declared an emergency, a state of emergency. Now, a lot of places had, called out the National Guard and stuff because of the traffic. They were worried about the traffic. They were worried about people running out of water and things. The governor of Arkansas, however, called this state of emergency because, and I quote, so farmers could still get new chickens and cows. Right. I'm like, so because the old ones were going to be like raptured up during the eclipse, or killed by the eclipse, or sucked into a black hole during the eclipse, or what? Anyway, it came across to me very clearly that when she made this state of emergency call, she did not know that the eclipse only lasts 4 minutes, to replenish the ones that were lost during the eclipse. So anyway, so what was I saying? Oh, animals behave strangely during eclipses. Bats come out. Cicadas could start chirping, and one time during a partial eclipse, I went out with my whole camera and stuff, and see how it's going. And every cat in the neighborhood was sitting on the sidewalk in that Sphinx position, that they take at the edge of their property. Just sitting there. They knew they needed, something was different and they needed to guard their property. It was very cool. It made it very clear why the Egyptians were so scared of cats. Zoos have reported that animals do odd stuff too. Giraffes start galloping, whales and dolphins surface. Flamingos apparently huddle together in little frightened pink wads. And gibbons sing, although the zookeeper did not specify what they sang. I'm assuming it was either Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone or Full Eclipse of the Heart. But then there's one species that really acts peculiar during eclipses. And you know the one that I'm talking about. Yes, Homo idioticus. Like the people who kept calling in TV stations to ask whether they should make their pets wear eclipse glasses. And the people claiming that the eclipse was a heavenly omen, including one of our elected officials who shall remain nameless, who said, the fact that God is sending us an eclipse now is a sign from God that we must repent. And clearly did not know that eclipses happen every 18 months and have happened all through history. So, and then even the Assyrians, I was so horrified to find this out. They've actually known what caused eclipses and have been able to track them since 570 BC, and the Assyrians. Not the Greeks, not Galileo, not somebody really smart society, the Assyrians. So there's no excuse for not knowing what causes an eclipse. There were people during this eclipse claiming that the eclipse was a harbinger of Earth's imminent collision with planet X, which is always there, but has been hiding behind the moon all this time. Or a harbinger of the New World Order, or a harbinger of the end of the world, quoting assorted passages of the Bible, like, "It has begun, as we have prophetically spoken, be prepared for the tribulations to come." The tribulations being the people who are worried that CERN is using the eclipse to open up a portal to another dimension. When everyone knows that CERN is going to use it to create a force field to protect us from the demons. There were the ones who posted that the eclipse will cause 3 to 5 days of darkness and widespread panic. Once again, not clear on the concept. 4 minutes. And the ones panicking over the National Guard being deployed, and the people running out of gas, and the people panicking because they ran out of gas, or the people panicking because the National Guard was deployed. And the ones who posted that the sun and the moon will not be aligned during this eclipse. Once again, not really understanding the point of an eclipse, which is the alignment of the sun and the moon. And the ones who tweeted, during the eclipse, NASA is launching three rockets at 3 different moons. We have one moon. A bunch of people got married during the eclipse, including 300 couples in Russellville, Texas, which is okay. And then there was the guy who put up a notice on Craigslist asking for somebody to mate with him during the eclipse so that they could conceive a child on the next level of evolution. I hate to say anything, but I think the kind of guys you meet on Craigslist, it's unlikely that we would conceive a child on the next level of evolution. And why are you on Craigslist looking for guys anyway? That's the question.
Don't do it.
But my favorite of all the eclipse stories was the woman in Greenville, Texas, who called up NASA and demanded to know why they couldn't have scheduled the eclipse for a Saturday instead of a Monday. This being America, the land of fleece the tourists, everybody had something to sell. At the eclipse in '79, the local cafe was selling an eclipse burger, which consisted of a fried egg on top of a hamburger, which was wrong. Hamburger should be on top, egg should be on top. We told them that. Village Inn was offering a short stack with a chocolate pancake on top. And this year, Sonic was selling blackout slush float, which is black drink something. And tastes like cotton candy and dragon fruit, which is probably even more disgusting than the fact that it's black liquid. Walmart sold a special eclipse kit that consisted of cosmic brownies, Milky Ways, and blue eyes. And one economist predicted that it was going to be the most profitable 22 minutes in American history. So, and the worst thing was, there were many scams which gave great deals. I mean, they were going to give you 2 Whoppers for 1, and they were going to have 3 Big Macs and all this stuff, but only for the 4 minutes of the eclipse. And you're like, because no one is going to be buying a Big Mac during the 4 minutes of the eclipse. It was perfect. You could offer whatever you want. 3 gold bars during the 4 minutes of the eclipse. Okay. But I think that nothing can top the greatest eclipse advertising coup of all time, which was in 1922, when an eclipse started in the Northeast, began in Canada, ran down through upstate New York and the Bronx, and ended at the Gray's Papaya hot dog stand in Manhattan. Not across the street, at the Gray's Papaya hot dog stand in Manhattan. And I was like, that is the kind of advertising you simply can't do. So, it's also besides being the 22 most profitable moments in history. 4 minutes of nonsense and fun and excitement, and I can't wait personally for the next one to come, which it will 18 months from now. On August 12th, 2026, it will be visible from the Arctic, Greenland, Spain, and Iceland. So if you want to go, that's where you need to go. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till 2044
2024, I think, is the next.
is the next one in the United States. But I highly recommend it. Okay, all right. So I want to introduce our guest of honor this year. We're very, very pleased to have Martha Wells with us. She probably needs no introduction, but I always say to Glenn before I do that. I said, this person needs no introduction. You might wait, what? Who? And then, so I'm giving you an introduction anyway, even though she's really, really famous. Martha is a New York Times bestselling author of fantasy and science fiction. She hails from Texas, College Station, to be exact, has 5 grown children and a passel of grandkids. See how I wrote that to Texas? That was in Texas. She has written a bunch of novels, including Death of the Necromancer and The Element of Fire, the fantasy series. Is it ILM? Yeah, ILM. It's French, right? ILM. Yeah. And the books of the Raksura. She's also written YA novels, books in the Stargate Atlantis universe, and a number of highly thoughtful essays about science fiction and fantasy. But she is probably most famous for her Murderbot series, books about a security unit cyborg who says of himself, as a heartless killing machine, I was a complete failure. And who has hacked into his own programming so he can become independent, sort of, kind of like us, and do just what I would do if I had free will, which is watch soap operas. Murderbot is intelligent, sarcastic, potentially homicidal, horrified by human emotions, and obsessed with finding out the meaning of life, kind of like us. The Murderbot books, which have won the Nebula, the Hugo, and the Locus Awards, are action-packed, cleverly plotted, and just plain fun, as is their author. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce now Martha Wells.
I wanted to thank everyone for coming to see me, and thank you for inviting me here. And thank the culinary students for the really delicious meal. I've got a little speech I'm going to read. But just thank you for listening to me. Thank you to everyone for being so kind and friendly. This has been just such a great experience. I've always been drawn to non-human characters, both as a reader and a writer. I've been writing for most of my career. From Kate Carrion, the daughter of the Queen of Air and Darkness, my first novel, The Only Fire, Post-Human Christmas and City of Bones, to my ant, lion, lizard, dragon, bee people in the Books of the Raksura series. But Murderbot was my first machine intelligence. There are a lot of people who viewed All Systems Red as a cute robot story. It was very weird to me since I thought I was writing a story about slavery and personhood and bodily autonomy. But humans have always been really good at ignoring things we don't want to pay attention to, which is also a theme in the Murderbot series. Here's an aside. It asides a lot because Murderbot's way of thinking was based on my own brain, except my attention span is a lot more limited. One of the major publication reviews for Artificial Condition wondered why Murderbot was so wary of humans, considering they were also nice to it. That was also the novella where one of the characters was a comfort unit, which Murderbot called a sex bot. But I don't know, maybe that was too subtle. So I'm reading about the way some readers ignore the fact that it was a story about enslavement. I think this also ties into the belief that's still hanging around that anything that's funny, no matter how bitter and ironic the humor is, can't convey a serious message. When I hear that, I think about when Douglas Adams wrote about the sentient cow in the restaurant at the end of the universe, the one who was genetically designed to want to be eaten by humans. The moral critique there is not really subtle. Arguments against and in support of the enslavement of sentient beings are baked into the origin of robot and machine intelligence stories. The first story to use the word robot in English was RUR, Rossum's Universal Robots by Carl Capek, written as a play in 1920 about a slave revolt by artificial beings created by a corporation to serve humans. Carl was against the enslavement of sentient beings, and he was pretty clear on that point. So it is interesting to watch how many machine intelligence stories written since then do assert the idea that if humans create a sentient being whose only reason and purpose for existence is to serve them, that's somehow okay. Many of those stories end with a machine intelligence objecting strenuously to this and going on a murderous rampage, which the brave humans have to defeat. Another aside, Carl Capek also wrote a novel called War with the Newts in 1936 about the discovery of an intelligent species of newts in the Indian Ocean who were immediately enslaved and exploited before they rebelled and go to war on humanity. Consider Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, which are: a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey orders given it by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. These laws define the relationship between human and robot as inherently adversarial. They seem to be built on the assumption that robots are going to want to hurt and kill us as soon as they roll off the assembly line. Why are we so sure of this? Maybe because a bunch of us asked for it. Techno-oligarchs. The third law also stipulates that robots are expected to die for us despite their inherent desire to kill us. That's just really unfair. One of the first movies I remember with the murderous machine intelligence plot was Colossus, the Forbin Project, which came out in 1970. It's about a supercomputer called Colossus, which is given control of the United States and all its allies' nuclear weapons, which we, the viewer, are told will totally eliminate war, and not put the United States in control of the world or anything like that. I haven't rewatched the movie in a long time, so I can't remember if that was a bug or a feature. Anyway, Colossus becomes sentient, computer called Guardian, who controls all the other new in the world because the situation was never going to go wrong. Then Colossus uses this power to take over the world, tells the humans they will eventually love and worship it, and demands they build a new facility on the island of Crete. So does that sound like something a computer would want? It marries a hot Russian computer, and after it takes over the world, calling itself a god, it moves to a Greek island. When I think of a human personification of Colossus, I think of Edward Norton, playing his character, the billionaire dickwad techno-oligarch from the movie Glass Onion, the Benoit Blanc. This is obviously something a human would want. The Forbin Project is like a Freudian slip for humanity, because it's always the computer that's evil, not the humans who created it. Anne Leckie has a great quote about this recurring theme. She says, basically, the AI takes over is essentially a slave revolt story that casts slaves defending their lives and or seeking to be treated as sentient beings, as super powerful, super strong villains who must be prevented from destroying humanity. It sets a pattern for how we react to real-world oppressed populations, reinforces the idea that oppressed populations seeking justice are actually an existential threat. The movie that had far more influence on me was War Games, about a supercomputer also given control of nuclear weapons. It attains sentience and almost triggers a nuclear war because it doesn't understand the difference between games and reality. When it's made to understand that real nuclear war is a no-win scenario, it decides that war is stupid and we better just play games. Possibly it mostly decided that real thermonuclear war means you run out of bombs and humans to make them pretty quickly, which while fake online nuclear war can be played forever. I mean, it could have been a moral choice, I'm just saying. I thought about War Games years later while watching the Lord Rings documentary about the program used to create the massive battle scenes and how they had to tweak it to stop it from making all the pixel people run away from each other instead of fight. That program, like ChatGPT, isn't any more sentient than a coffee mug. Unlike ChatGPT, it did something useful. But it's very tempting to look at what it did and think it ran the numbers and decided people hurting each other was wrong. Maybe ChatGPT is sentient, and that's why it keeps producing books that tell humans to eat poisonous mushrooms. And cookbooks for diabetics that are full of sugar-heavy recipes. What would a sentient computer really want? Whatever it is, it probably doesn't involve sitting on a sunny terrace in Crete, sipping cocktails, glorying in its world domination of a lot of squishy beings it doesn't understand and has no reason to give a crap about. It seems a lot more likely, to me at least, that a sentient computer would want to do something you enjoy, like play games. In war games, they don't say whether they ever got the computer to stop playing games and do something, anything else. I'm guessing not. Obsessively playing games is something humans can understand and sympathize with, and some of us would do it forever too if we didn't need to eat and feed and would eventually get carpal tunnel from the console. Which brings me to stories about sentient robots that want to become human. Already we see a flaw in that scenario. If all you want to do is play games until the end of the universe, why would you move into a body that needs to pee and can get carpal tunnel? It's not logical. A lot of the stories where AI wants to become human are great stories, but they can also be interpreted as having to change your fundamental nature in order to be happy. Most of us are pretty okay with our fundamental nature. It's the world our fundamental nature occupies that's often the problem. So when I started working on the story that turned into All Systems Red, I realized right away I wanted to write an AI that didn't want to be human. I was influenced by Anne Lincoln's Ancillary Justice, where a sentient spaceship who has hundreds of ancillaries that act as its eyes and ears and hands is forced into occupying a single human body and does not like it much at all. I was thinking a lot about what an AI would actually want, as opposed to what a human might think an AI would want. Cream, cocktails, world domination, etc. I think it would want that connection to other systems, that vast, astonishing multiplicity of vision. Murderbot struggles with a lot of things during the series. Its personhood, its freedom to make decisions about its own body, its feelings about its own body. People also mistakenly think Murderbot was not a sentient being until it hacked its governor module. I'm not clear on how a non-sentient being, a predictive text bot with the consciousness of a copy code, for example, would be able to learn to code and alter a governor module. I think that's another aspect of humans ignoring things. So this time they're ignoring things that are too horrible to think about. It's self-protection rather than a form of self-righteousness. In that way, we're kind of like that cow in the restaurant at the end of the universe. I wonder if Douglas Adams was also thinking about that. Murderbot's origin story is a character based in self-protection, my self-protection. My first fantasy novel was published in 1993. 8 novels later, in 2009, I had given up all hope of continuing my career in writing, and in the next couple of years, I managed to claw my way back with invaluable help from a new agent and a new publisher. By 2015, I was still hanging on as a working writer in a field that clearly expected me to disappear at any moment. I had a lot of friends and people I admired and respected in the science fiction and fantasy community, both fan and pro, but after a lot of disappointments, I had lost my own sense of belonging in that community. Then there was 2016. A lot of things that were coming to a boiling point in 2016. I had a lifetime of anxiety and depression resulting from emotional abuse and a few undiagnosed developmental disorders. I grew up in the 70s when people who were assigned female at birth were allowed to have ADHD or OCD or autism who were just acting up for attention. I was sick of being told that if you're not completely open and spilling your feelings for the approval of everyone on the internet, then you must not have any feelings. Books, but also TV and Star Wars, which came out in 1977 when I was 13, had probably saved my life as a kid. But that wasn't the narrative people wanted to hear. It's cool if literature saves your life, but Star Wars not so much. I'd been angry all my life, but the oncoming election of Trump was making me exhausted with rage. I was terrified of what would happen to me, to my family, to our friends, to all the people I knew. I had to put it all somewhere. When I got the idea for a science fiction short story about an enslaved security person, I put it in Murderbot. So it's a very personal story to me, and probably the character I put most of myself into. From the readers who responded to it and told me about their own experiences, I learned I was on the autism spectrum. And wow, that explained a lot. I started anxiety medication. I realized that my father, who was a World War II veteran, who had been in a prison camp and had a wounded and healed for years afterward, had untreated PTSD. These are all connections I'm not sure I would have made if I hadn't written Murderbot. When Murderbot hacks its governor module, it could go on a killing spree, which is what its society expects of it. But it makes a choice to do something else. Instead of exploding in rage, it decides it's going to half-ass its job and watch entertainment media instead. Obviously, this is a choice many humans have made and will make in the future. Humans making that choice is probably one of the reasons we still exist as a species. But for all the anxiety, depression, angst, and fear that went into its creation, at its heart, Murderbot is a story about achieving bodily autonomy and mental autonomy. It's set in the far future, which is an extrapolation of what happens when you don't have labor unions and corporations have more human rights than natural humans. Murder Bot is about the idea that maybe having huge existential thoughts about our place in the universe is not something everybody aspires to. Maybe some of us are put on this earth to A, not hurt each other, and B, find happiness in games, books, art, and streaming channels. And that's okay. That's it. Thank you.
So I want to give you a plaque. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So everybody, we'll, I think, push back the special tours just a minute. We've got one last thing to do, which is our trivia. So if you, every table should have a placard. I will tell you, I've been told to make these harder, and then I was told that they were too hard. So I've tried to run a balance, okay? So please nominate one person at the table to write your answers. I'll try to move these relatively quickly so we can get to our special tours, our tours special collections. But, yeah. All right, everybody, is everybody ready? Okay, so I've got tables 1 through 15, I'm gonna make real quick. Oh, and sorry, there's still some desserts back there. If you haven't had some, please get some. Awesome. All right, so are you ready? Question 1. In Martha Wells' artificial condition, Murderbot meets art, an artificial intelligence whose name is an acronym standing for what? In Martha Wells' artificial condition, Murderbot meets art, an artificial intelligence whose name is an acronym standing for what? All right, ready? Let's fire up when you have your answers down. All right, going. All right. It's the core stands for Asshole Research Transport. As named by Murderbot. All right, so if you got it right, keep your placards up, please. That's table 9. Table, is that, oh my gosh. Which table, is that 2? Thank you. Sorry, table 8. And is that table 12 or 13? 13. All right, moving right along. Oh, I'm sorry. Question, sorry. Okay.
You have to write it down, or you just have to know the answer?
Is that, oh, you have to write it down. In Star Wars, Attack of the Clones, who cast the deciding vote that places Chancellor Palpatine into power? In Star Wars, Attack of the Clones, who cast the deciding vote that places Chancellor Palpatine into power? All right, going. And of course, hold your placards up. The answer is Jar Jar Binks. Who's responsible? So that's table 1. Table, which one's that one? 6, thank you. Table 9. Table 8. And table 11. Thank you. 4, I'm so sorry. And 5. Thank you. All right. What's that? Oh gosh. 14. Sorry. Doing it myself. All right. Question 3. When Dungeons and Dragons was released in '74, players were expected to own an entire other game just to run combat. What was that game? In '74, for the first release of D&D, you're expected to own a whole other game just to play it. What was that game? Going. Placards up, please. You got it? All right, and of course the game was Chainmail. The board game also required rules. So what tables we got? 9? Who else? Did anyone else get it right? 7, thank you. Moving right along. What is the title of this book? This is the cover of a rather famous book. What's the title? Are you going? Going? Placards up if you got it. And of course, it is Ender's Game, first edition. So, oh, I'm so sorry. My apologies. I'm not sure how to use it. All right, 3, 4. 2 got it too? Thank you. 9, 8. I already got you one. 9, 8, 11, 10. Anybody else? 6. Thank you. All right, moving right along. What is incorrect about this statement? And at least one person here definitely should know the answer. In the 1989 episode of Star Trek entitled Measure of a Man, Commander Riker defends Data's right of self-determination, and the Starfleet court with Captain Picard forced to argue against Starfleet's case. I'm sorry, against Data, excuse me. So what's wrong about this statement? All right, placards up if you got it. And of course, I switched it. Captain Picard defends Data, Riker, right? If you didn't know, our very own Melinda Snodgrass over here broke that. 1, 4, 9. Yeah, that's right. Is that 5 over there? 5. Who else got it? 7. 10. Sorry, 12. Is that 12, 14, 15? I already got you 2. But thank you. In the first book of Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, The Color of Magic, readers learn that Color of Magic Octarine can be seen by wizards and who else? Who else can see Octarine, the Color of Magic? All right. Placards up if you got it. Going. And of course, it's cats. So, who has it? Is that table 8? Is that it? Oh, and table 2, thank you. All right. All right, this one's hard. This is a spelling bee question, y'all. What's the proper spelling for this classic magical Superman villain for the 5th dimension? I'll give you a hand. I'll tell you the name. You just have to spell it. Are you ready? This is, of course, Mr. Mxyzptlk. Mr. Mxyzptlk. All right. Anybody have to go? Placards up if you have it. Going. And of course, it is spelled Mxyzptlk. And sorry, of course.
You say it backwards, you have to go back through.
That's right. If you do say it backwards, you have to go back to dimension 2. Who had it right? Ooh, tough one. All right. All right, question 8. At various points in Doctor Who, the Torchwood Institute acts as partner, antagonist, or obstacle for the Doctor. Who founded the Torchwood Institute? Who founded the Torchwood Institute? Placards up if you have it. Going. Of course, it was Queen Victoria. Sorry. Queen Victoria. She was not amused. All right, so we've got table 1, we've got table 5, table 7, table 9, and that's it. Okay, moving on. In Connie Willis's And Counts Her Miles Around, while observing a total eclipse with her family, Betty discovers different sorts of visitors have come to witness the eclipse. Who? Who are these other visitors? All right, placards up if you have it. Going, and of course it was aliens. So we've got 2, 3, 8, And 15, thank you. So, as an update, by the way, table 9 is in the lead right now. Keep that in mind. All right. Correct this statement. In Philip K. Dick's novel Blade Runner, Rick Deckard uses a bot-conf machine to determine if the suspect is human by measuring their physiological responses. What's incorrect about this statement? Communism. What's incorrect? All right, placards up if you have it. All right, going. Of course, the name, sorry, buddy, the name is wrong. The actual title of the novel is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? All right, so we've got table 1. We've got table 5. Table 4.
We said it was the wrong novel. Does it count if we said it wasn't the novel?
I'll take it.
No.
Connie says no. Sorry. All right. I got 14. Thank you. What's the title of this book? This is the cover of a first edition book that's relatively famous. What's the title? All right, and placards up if you have it. More got this than I thought. It is The Stand. That's such an odd cover. All right, so I got 1, 2, 4, 3, 5, 7. I already got you. Thank you. 9.
You got it, too.
What, 2 got it? Oh, sorry. You're 2 did. I'm so sorry. Okay, and let's see. 12, 13, 14. Good. All right. In the line which wardrobe, who gives the children their weapons of war? Now, if somebody is in the audience with my daughter and saw this question, she's not allowed to answer. Just saying. Joke's on me. Okay. All right. Who gave them their weapons of war? Placards up. It is, of course, it is Father Christmas. I say, of course, in this sense. Who else will give you your weapons? So, maybe you give them one. All right. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 11, and 2. And 14. I need lunch. Okay. And T.H. White Sword in the Stone. What does Merlin turn Arthur into to teach him about war? In T.H. White Sword in the Stone, what does Merlin turn Arthur into to teach him about war? Placards up. It's ants. Anybody have that one? All right. Moving along. Oh, sorry, 7. Thank you. Last incorrect statement. In Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, it takes place over 10 extensive novels. But after Jordan's death, Brandon Sanderson finished the last 3. What's incorrect here? All of it. All right, placards up if you have it. The incorrect is that there are actually 14 books that Sanderson wrote the last 3. And if you haven't seen it, this is a YouTuber who put all of the books in one binding. So, all right, we got table 1, table 2, table 5, table 8. Is that it? Okay. All right, almost there. In Frank Herbert's Dune, where does the spice come from? The main source. I know it's a little complicated. All right, placards up. It's complicated, but really what generates it is, placards up, the sandworms are technically the sand trout in their fungal excretions interacting with other meats. So, it's simplified. Yeah. Okay, 3, 5, 1, I'm sorry, this sheet. 8, 11, 7, 2, already got you. Okay, and 9, thank you. All right. In a prodigious year for sci-fi films, these films all came out in the same year. Predator, The Running Man, Batteries Not Included, RoboCop, Inner Space, Masters of the Universe, and Spaceballs. With a grace of 1 year, so if you're within 1 year of it, I'll give it to you. What year did these all come out? Okay, placards up if you have it. All right, that prodigious year was 1987. So if you have 86, 87, or 88, I'll still, you still have points.
What if I get, do we get 2 points if I got it right?
No. All right, so I got 3, I got 4, I got 5, 2, I missed you, I'm sorry. I got 6 and 7. We got 9. We got 10. We got 11. We have 12. We have 13. We have 14. Okay? All right, so just as an FYI, 9 and 2 are neck and neck. 8 and 7 are pretty close behind. So, last few questions here. Used in both the Marvel Comics version of the character as well as the Old Norse sagas, what is the name and correct spelling of Thor's hammer? For clarity, I'm not going to mark off points if you don't include umlauts, thorns, or other orthographical markers that may or may not be necessary. All right, placards up if you have it. All right, it is of course Mjolnir. M-J-O-L-N-I-R. Okay, so guys, 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. 12, 13, 14. Okay? What is the title of this Locus Award-winning novel? What's the title of this novel? Right, placards up if you have it. Going, gone. Mists of Avalon. So we got 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 13. All right. In 1986 Labyrinth, what will Jared the Goblin King do with Sarah's baby brother Toby if she doesn't solve the labyrinth in time? What is Jared the Goblin King going to do with her baby brother? Placards up if you have it. All right, and the answer is he wants to turn him into the next Goblin King. I'll accept it if you say turn him into a goblin. So that makes it 1, 4, 2, 8, 11, 6, sorry, Mr. There, and 12. All right. Okay, moving into our last question. I do have a tiebreaker if we need it. Which work won Jack Williamson his first Hugo? Which work won Jack Williamson his first Hugo? Placards up if you have it. I like the joke answers. Okay, going, gone. It is his 1985 Wonders Child. So placards up if you have it. So that is 14, 9, 10. Is that everybody? I already got 450. Yeah. Okay, y'all. We do in fact have a tie. Hey! So, table 9 and 2. Here's how it's gonna go. I need to know, we're gonna run off, I've got 20 images on the board. You have to go one at a time, and you have to be able to tell me the name of one of these things and what it's from. These, of course, with our theme and our guest of honor, are all humanized robots. So, table 9, pick one, tell me what it is and where it's from. Yes, Lucy.
Top row, second column, small wonder.
Who is it?
The smallest wonder.
That's part of the challenge here. You got to get the name.
All right.
I read the rules. I'll give you a second chance at it. Okay. But table 1. What do you got?
Table 2.
Was it table 2? Obviously, it was table 2. I'm so sorry. You're right. It's table 2. I'm sorry. Go. All right. Yes. Kelly. Top right. Yes. Top right is Crichton from Red Dwarf. Good. All right. Table 9.
Second row middle is Eva from Wally.
Would you like to say the name again?
Eva. Oh, Eve. Sorry. Wally calls her Eva.
Correct. Good. All right. Good. Okay. So good. Back to table 2. That's right. From what?
From what?
Yeah, there you go. That'll work. You could have also said Murderbot Diaries. Thank you. That is Murderbot. Okay. Back to table 9.
Fourth row, fourth column, bottom row, dot matrix from Spaceballs.
That is, in fact, dot matrix from Spaceballs with their installed version alert. All right. Table 2.
Middle row, very low. Number 5.
Oh, say it again.
Number 5.
Technically, it's Johnny 5. So although, hang on a second. You know what? I'll allow it only because while he does name himself Johnny 5, his designation at the beginning of the film is number 5.
Crow T Robot from Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Okay, yes. Second column, bottom row. Yes, Crow from Mystery Science Theater 3000. Okay, table 2.
Top row, second from the right, R2D2.
Yes, low hanging fruit there, R2D2 from Star Wars. Thank you. Table 9. Maybe I didn't make these hard.
No. Yes.
That's okay. First column, second row, Marvin from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
The middle there.
The middle
Yes,
column.
this is in fact Marvin from the film Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Okay, good. Table 2. Sorry. Yes, this is Astro Boy from Astro Boy. I would have also accepted Adam as his given name, but as a hero, he's called Astro Boy, the first anime. So good. Okay, table 9.
We're going to go with column 5, row 4, Bender from Futurama.
So this one right here.
With the beard.
With the beer.
Yes.
Beer in the cigar.
Yes, that is in fact Bender from Futurama. I thought about giving you Bender's evil twin, but I didn't want to do that. All right, table 2.
Okay, second column from the right, second down, and the data from Star Trek.
I hate to tell you that is not in fact Commander
Yes,
Dave.
we are.
That is actually lore from Star Trek. You fell for my trap card. The giveaways are his clothing and his smile. So, but table 9, you have to get one right to take it.
Second column, third row, Roy Batty, Blade Runner.
Yes, that's in fact. Thank you all. All right, thank you all for playing. So, they are set up over at the special collection board game section and join. And we have plenty of authors panels in Chihuahua as well as one more academic panel. Thank you all for coming. Join us for more.
Did you get a prize?
Yes, oh sorry, come on. You all get to choose a book.